As much as we try to tame nature, we are not going to succeed because nature has always been around and we are a part of it, and she can raise at any, sorry for calling her she for those who ever takes offense, and she can raise at any point of time whenever she feels that enough is enough. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Harini. So I love reading, right? But my issue is I can never talk about the books I read. I feel it's very private, like a conversation between me and the author. But after I read this book, I was like, okay, I have to talk about it. Because there's just so much that goes on in this book that it made somebody like me, who describes myself as ambitious, happy, etc., when asked for a single word, start using the word deranged. As a last word, maybe some people who report to me might use that, but I never have thought of myself as deranged, right? But reading this book made me feel that and made me feel it like really strongly. Let me tell you why. So Amitav Ghosh writes very beautifully about this topic, and he splits the book into 3 parts. He starts with the stories, then he gets into the history, and finally he closes with the politics of climate change, right? So the first thing about the book which I loved was this entire concept of what happened to him on March 17th, 1978. He was in the eye of a storm, right? And it ripped through Delhi and in a matter of just 5 minutes, killed 30 people and injured over 100 people. Now, what is our life shaped by? Is it shaped by things which are very gradual and happen over a period of time? Or is it shaped by sudden cataclysmic events? The answer is both and neither. And this is what the author felt at that moment when he was in the eye of the storm. And despite being a prolific writer, right, he was never able to write a real-world account of this. He used it in his fiction, but he did not write a real-world account of it, even though it touched him deeply. He talks about the presence and proximity of non-human interlocutors in our lives. How many of you have gone to a jungle trying to spot a tiger? I mean, it's one of my favorite hobbies, right? I'm never able to spot one. It doesn't want to meet me. But he talks about the Sundarbans, where you walk, every single family has a story of a tiger, right? Either they've been attacked by one or somebody's been killed by one. There are red flags all around where people have actually been killed or have had an animal encounter. He says the animal sees you well before you see it, right? We are in the presence of a lot of non-human interlocutors, and as much as we try to tame nature, we are not going to succeed because nature has always been around and we are a part of it, and she can raise at any, sorry for calling her she for those who ever takes offense, and she can raise at any point of time whenever she feels that enough is enough, right? And one interesting concept which comes in the first half of the book is about how stories have failed us. I grew up reading Oliver Twist, Scarlet Pimpernel, not only because it was compulsory reading in Tamil Nadu State Board, but because I also loved reading those, right? And for a person who's never been to England, leave alone Tamil Nadu, I found it fascinating that there was a boy somewhere who was asking, please, can I have some more? And being punished for it while I didn't even bother to finish the food that I had. But where are all these writers? Why are they not talking about climate change? The funny thing is they are, but we call it science fiction and fantasy. None of this is actually science fiction or fantasy. The reality is, in a few years, rivers are going to dry before they reach the oceans. There is no question about it, right? 6,000 square kilometers of cultivable land is going to disappear. There is no question about it. The only thing is, what are we going to do about it? Why are we in this situation today, right? And one funny incident the author himself quotes, funny in a black comedy way, not really a funny way. He says his house is actually in an ecologically vulnerable zone, but nobody in his family is ready to vacate. He says, my life is not guided by reason. It is ruled rather by the inertia of habitual motion. If you look at 200 years back, nobody will build a house right next to the beach. But all cool people with a lot of status need a beach-facing house now, whether it's in New York or Shanghai or Bombay. What will happen when Bombay, which is actually an island, is going to get flooded? What is our disaster recovery option? Kuch to karenge, that is the India option. But this is not a fantasy, right? This is a reality which happens to a lot of us, which can happen to any of us at any point of time. The reason we are where we are is because of 2 things, imperialism and capitalism, which cannot be separated from each other. The entire carbon economy was dependent on the factor that only a few people could follow that lifestyle. 2 cars, I actually have 2 cars in my house, frank answer. 2 cars, washing machine, multiple people doing multiple things for you. But moment that spread as a large full-term habit, the earth is not able to take it, right? And none other than the father of our nation said this. I don't think I have time, so I'm not going to make you guess who said this. This was said by Mahatma Gandhi, where he said that God forbid that India should ever take after the manner of the West. He's not saying don't become an industrialist, right? Because one funny thing is we associate being modern with capitalism, but that is not the case. He says, if you do that, then it would strip the world bare, which is what is happening all around us right now. And the thing is, there's a lot of politics to the whole thing, right? You cannot go to somebody in a developed country and say, cut your carbon emissions by 80% so that some poor kid in a village can live. They're going to laugh at your face because they can't relate to what you're even talking about in the first place. And there has to be a balance, right, between becoming an ascetic like Mahatma Gandhi. I honestly cannot do that. I can't wear only cotton and I can't be like him. And instead, the other extreme of capitalism. So where is that balance? How do we really bring about that? And how do we prevent the ones which are the most vulnerable, the women and children in the lesser known parts of the world? Because face the reality, right? If the temperature is going to shoot up, all of us in this room are probably going to sit in the AC room. We are not going to be as impacted as those who are in vulnerable locations or who do not have the economic power that we do have to take care of themselves. So what is the collective responsibility of all of us, right? And that is not an answer which is as simple as, stopping buying clothes or not buying physical books, etc. It's something which requires a large change. Now, I don't know what that is, but I can at least talk about it. And I feel, as much as I feel deranged talking about it, I still think that is the only thing that I am able to do as of this moment, right? And if I want to get more deeper into the politics, it's never going to be the middle class which will suffer, but we have a responsibility towards those who will definitely suffer. And I want to close with talking about what really is freedom. Is freedom the ability to walk out any point of time, buy what you want, live the way you please? Or do we want to look at the definition of freedom that Pope Francis says? He says, man is not only a freedom which he creates for himself. He is spirit and will, but also nature. I think what makes us is that we are part of nature. And as much as we might try to fight it, as much as we might think that we have conquered, we haven't, right? The simplest truth of life, according to a favorite character of mine, is that everybody lies. The only variable is about what. So what do we choose to lie to ourselves about? That is the question that I want to leave all of you with. Thank you.